Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Governor John Carney. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, coming live to you via Zoom. We're here with a very important proclamation signing, designating this month as Autism Acceptance and Inclusion Month. We have a number of parents, advocates who have joined us today to talk about autism as it relates to the people of our state. We're joined by Brian Hall, who's the Executive Director of Autism Delaware. Brian, thanks for joining us. Thank you for the good work of your organization. We're also joined by Andrea and Patrick Creed, who are advocates for people with autism, the parents of an autistic person. We have Diane Treadwell-Deering, who's the director of the Swank Autism Center at Nemours DuPont Hospital for Children. Just an incredible resource here in the state of Delaware and the other states where Nemours is present, and we appreciate all the good work that the hospital does for the citizens of our state. And lastly, we have Josh Keating, who's an executive chef at Delaware Park, serving up the good food for us there, who'll provide brief remarks as well. I'd like to start off the conversation, if we could, just with a really short story. I have a niece who is a person with autism, who for many years lived just around the corner from my wife Tracy and my two boys and I in the city of Wilmington. And Lorraine O'Neill is her name. And when Lorraine was young, she's an adult now in her mid to late 20s. She used to like she was kind of very low functioning, didn't communicate well or at all. And so she needed to have a lot of attention all the time. And often it was the case that she would be with folks close by on the front porch of her house over on 19th Street. And there was a gate there that made sure that she stayed on the porch. And one particular day, she happened to find her way to unlatch the gate and wander off the porch. And when my sister and brother-in-law determined that she was not on the front porch, obviously they put out an all points bulletin to friends and family in the neighborhood. And there were lots of folks that came and to help find Lorraine. She was found just strolling by herself around Brandywine Park by one of Wilmington's finest police officers, and one of the neighbors, found the two of them there and identified Lorraine and brought her back to the porch, and we all kind of gathered, and there was a collective sigh of relief that Lorraine was safe and that she was back home and all of that. And I remember my brother-in-law has a way of cutting through kind of tense and difficult times with a little bit of humor. And what he said was, it takes the whole neighborhood to raise and look after our child. And that's kind of the point. It takes all of us, really, for people with disabilities and people with autism to support their needs, to help their parents and families, to help them as individuals find their way and get the support they need to get employment, to be successful in life. And that's frankly what this proclamation is all about today. That's what the work of Brian and Autism Delaware is all about. We thank him for that great work and ask him now to share some thoughts with us.
Well, thank you, Governor, for allowing us to have the opportunity to spend a little bit of time together today. I feel like I always say family reunion. Each year, I feel like it's a family reunion. We get back together and we share some stories and we catch up and see whether or not we've gained some weight or lost some weight. But again, thank you, and thank you to everyone else who's joining us today. It's a pleasure to see folks because, we've been scattered and isolated for a long time and things are slightly changing, but it's nice to see folks via online. I think the big deal about this year, and it began last year, we've moved away from kind of awareness to acceptance and inclusion. And that's really what it's about. All of us have stories where we can talk about an experience and years ago, you talk about it in a different kind of way. And nowadays you hear more folks talking about how that experience has helped them better themselves and better the way they interact and engage with folks throughout our communities. I think awareness has led to increased acceptance. But acceptance we're just at the start of acceptance and inclusion. We still have much work to do together. But having this kind of forum, bringing folks together, allowing folks to see what we do on a daily basis, it's just the start of that in community, one community at a time, one community partner at a time, like the gentleman who will speak later, Joshua. Your proclamation and our proclamation as a Delaware resident really highlights the role of agencies and government in taking responsibility and providing resources to make that happen. What a year it's been. I can say that. What a year it's been. And throughout this entire year, Autism Delaware has not closed our doors. We remained open the entire year, supporting folks that were working at the Moors, supporting other folks who are working in other industries that are important to us sustaining a way of living. Working with community partners across the state. They needed help, we were there. And also, more importantly, available to the families across the state. So we've always met that call to action by partnering with these individuals, like our Autism Care Team, which is a peer-to-peer program that supports families struggling to navigate the complex system of resources and providers for children on the spectrum. They're there. It's peer-to-peer. It's a family supporting another family. I like to think of Delaware as a small state, but we do one community at a time. We touch one person at a time. And through our ACT program, we have families touching each other in a way that allows them to be empowered to lead the charge and help navigate the system for their own family. It's a way of giving back. That's what we do around here in Delaware. We give back to each other. We support each other. And we have our POWER program, which we're so very, very proud of as well, who, you never know, the 160, 150 individuals across the state working in all kinds of industries. You never know. From bookkeepers to working in pharmacies to helping the chef that you'll talk about, that you'll hear later. We're just privileged to have that opportunity to work with our community and our providers in supporting these young adults into the next phase of their lives. With us coming together and believing in acceptance and inclusion, we can continue to provide these opportunities. And I just want to recognize everyone across the state who's standing out in the doorways and reaching out to us and encouraging us to figure out ways to bring our work and what we do to their shops and offices and to create these additional opportunities. I believe that if we continue to focus on one family at a time, one industry at a time, one business at a time, one provider at a time, we will continue to grow in ways that we can only imagine. And with this proclamation today, it just verifies the work that we've done all year long in solidifying our place as being a premier leader in helping us create change and advocacy across the state. We know we need some help. We know we need some help from you, Governor. We know we need some help from folks. We know we need, in order to continue to be out there strong and in the communities, we know we need to look at some funding situations that I know you're fully aware of. But as in past years, we know how to come together and to create change. And I look forward to that. So again, thank you for allowing us to have the opportunity to share a few words. Thank you for allowing me to see these great individuals that I'm sitting here today with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian, and thank you for the great work of Autism Delaware. You're exactly right. You have to do this one person at a time, peer-to-peer, empower. Been incredible programs doing just that, helping one person at a time be successful. We're fortunate as a very small state, as you say, that we can do our business, do government business that way, and really make it personal. I think more so than the larger states that with the incredible numbers and challenges that they have. And so when you do it one person at a time, one family at a time, those individuals and family members become advocates for their children, as Andre and Patrick Creed are, and we appreciate their being with us today as well. Thank you both.
Hello, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our story. We are the parents of a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and our 9-year-old Adrian has autism. He uses a speech generating device to communicate. Knowing that autism exists and hopefully having some understanding of what autism is just the beginning. Just like with any other subset of the population, people with autism are not all the same, but there are things that need to be considered when addressing the needs of the people with autism. Many of the supports and accommodations needed could also benefit the entire population and certainly would not interfere. Society must understand that a person's presentation, whether they make eye contact, spin, flap, jump, communicate differently, and many other things, does not define their intelligence, their worth, their ability to be a friend, employee, or colleague. Acceptance and inclusion are vital to being seen as the equal and contributing citizens that people with autism are. Our differences must not be used to hold us back or separate us. People with autism need to be included in all aspects of the community, school, and home. Special education is not a place, it's not a room or a section of a building. It's supports and services. People with autism need equal opportunities and access to quality health care, education, employment, and social opportunities. We want our son, as well as our daughter, to feel the sense of community and equality. We need school professionals to understand that what inclusion really means and how to do it successfully so that everyone benefits. Our son rides the bus almost 2 hours each way to go to school outside of our home district so that he can receive a free and appropriate education. While he has made progress at his current school, and we are made to feel that we are part of their team, we recently discovered that he is not being taught to read. It is common for those without verbal language to be read to rather than be taught to read independently. When we spoke to school about this, they listened, acknowledged that Adrian should be taught to read, as well as their need for training. They are working on getting the skills they need to teach Adrian and others with complex communication needs. The path to reaching a goal may look different for Adrian than it does for his neurotypical peers, but it does not mean it's unobtainable or that it should not be pursued. As parents, we want to see our children learn, grow, have healthy relationships, and become independent, productive members of society. We do not want or expect less for Adrian because he has autism.
Governor Carney, we were at the signing of the 2019 proclamation to make April Autism Awareness Month in Delaware. Now more people know what the autism community have always known. Given the right supports, individuals with autism can be as or even more successful as their neurotypical peers. Through the tireless work of self-advocates, parents, educators, Autism Delaware, and others, our son has opportunities that did not exist in the not too distant past. Awareness is just a first step in the process. Acceptance and inclusion are what we need to strive for. We ask you to work with us to improve access and funding for quality, evidence-based education, which includes literacy and behavior supports for all school districts in Delaware, health care, including mental health, employment, transportation, and housing for Delawareans with disabilities. And please don't forget the residents of Kent and Sussex counties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are a state of 3 counties, Kent and Sussex, and I know the people in Eastern Sussex and across Sussex think very highly of the consortium which Cape Henlopen School District operates there for children with learning challenges and children with disabilities. And we have a similar facility here in Newcastle County. One of the challenges, as you pointed out, is that every child is a little bit different along the spectrum and have different needs. And that's why parents like you are so important to part of the equation to understand, you best understand the needs of your children and advocate for those. And we appreciate you representing all the families in our state today as we sign this proclamation. We're also joined by Diane Treadwell Deering, who's the director of the Swank Autism Center at Des Moines, Aya DuPont Hospital for Children, just an incredible resource here in the state of Delaware and other states where you operate. Thanks for joining us, Diane.
Thank you, Governor Carney, for this opportunity to speak. Today, I come as a representative of my colleagues here at the Swank Autism Center and at Nemours AI DuPont Pediatrics. We embrace the values of autism acceptance and inclusivity and pledge that these values are and will remain central to all that we do at every level, from the care of each unique and individual child and family to the highest level of organizational decision-making. We commit to you to adopting strategies and practices that address challenges, support strengths, value differences, and allow every child and family to reach their goals and potential. We look forward to working together as Delawareans to accomplish these aims, and I am so pleased to be allowed to speak with you, Mr. Hall, Mr. Keating, Mr. and Mrs. Creed, to work together with you to meet the needs of all autistic people in Delaware. Again, thank you, Governor Carney, for your support and for this important proclamation. I too am excited as we've moved away from awareness into acceptance and inclusivity. I think it's an incredibly important step in the work that we do. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your work. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for the resources that Nemours brings to these children and help these children and families and adults. One of whom is with us here, Josh Keating, who's the executive chef at Delaware Park. What's cooking today, Josh?
Oh, lots of good stuff, Governor. Thanks. I do have to say I'm kind of happy today's event is virtual, and I apologize for looking at my notes, but public speaking is ranked as probably the #1 fear amongst people, death being 2. And to Jerry Seinfeld's point, it's if you're at a funeral, it's better to be in the coffin than giving the eulogy. But my name is Joshua Keating. I'm the executive chef at Delaware Park Racetrack Casino. I am neurotypical, or undiagnosed autistic if you're speaking with my wife. I say neurotypical to describe myself here, but it's not something that anyone ever uses in normal life. No one's ever been out and says, "Hey, Josh, how are you?" And I respond, "Oh, I'm normal. Thanks for asking." I wouldn't use the word typical to describe me. I've always been awkward in social settings. I will retreat into a shell, leaving a stoic kind of a demeanor to kind of guard the door and deal with the crowd. I'm constantly told, "You never smile," or "Are you mad at me?" This exhausts me at times, especially if if I'm really trying to fit in somewhere. I often find myself sinking into the deep end into conversations that I'm not familiar with the topic. To combat this, I've found myself learning as much about anything that I can possibly learn about in hopes that my future conversations will become more meaningful. So far, this has rendered a person that is equally skilled to make a souffle, paint large abstract paintings, weld, build custom furniture, rebuild a motorcycle, and even braid my daughter's hair. I frequently hear, "Ask Josh, he knows everything." They don't understand why I know everything. Unknowingly, these hobbies have opened up doors, if not windows, or windows, if not doors. A window sometimes is all you need, a breath of fresh air. The first day in spring after a cold, dark winter, you feel great, your breath deeper. Maybe the light at the end of the tunnel isn't a train. You feel a shift, and we need a shift, a paradigm shift. 25% of the neurotypical population suffers from depression sometime in their life. That's a lot. In the autistic community, this number is closer to 75%. This is mainly brought on by not feeling accepted or included in their settings. Here I believe in the 3 S's. It's called safe, shades, and sane. Safe is just creating a safe workplace for anyone to be who they are, especially for all my employees. My office door is always open. You can come in here, scream, rant, laugh, cry, whatever you got to do. Everyone is human, and they need to vent. Shades. Imagine viewing the world through Instagram filters. We all use filters to kind of change our reality to a more pleasing and more appealing for us. When you give yourself, finding yourself giving instructions and you say, why can't you see what I want you to do? This is when you need to change your filter and say something more like, what is it that you're seeing? Same. Invite this person or anyone into your space. So we're all human. We all want to be accepted. We all are nervous to be in the crowd. Invite everyone in. The true breakdown is communication. Autism is a language and not many people are fluent. Adversely, the neurotypical language is foreign in the autistic world at times. The theory was played out during a great game that everyone has used or has played during a college orientation, the game of telephone. Neurotypical group was asked to play together and an autistic group was asked to play together. At the end, there was no discernible difference between the two groups. They both had the same communication breakdowns. When groups were mixed together and the games were played again, the communication was exponentially worse. It is simple to speak autism. It only takes you being a patient, compassionate human being. I will leave you with this. Monique Botha is an autistic woman from the UK. She has a master's degree, loves to read, is a great public speaker, better than me, and loves neuroscience. In 2006, she learned of a group of scientists that were able to reverse autistic genetics in mice. Loving science, and especially neuroscience, she felt indifferent about this finding. Later, she called her mother and eventually broke down crying. She told her mother what the scientists were able to do. And she said, I think I'm too late. And she said, late for what? She said, I've been pushing society to be accepting my entire life, but it has actually been easier to rewrite the genetic code than to be more accepting. I'm here to tell you that the biggest part of a cure for autism is acceptance. Thank you.
Josh, that was great. You didn't seem nervous at all. You had great remarks, great delivery. Maybe you have a future as a politician.
Yeah.
It does.
Thank you.
It is, as you say, nerve-wracking. Public speaking, one of the things that when they poll people, that folks list towards the top of things that they're most feared, most afraid of doing. Brian, Andrea and Patrick, Diane, Josh, great to have you on with us today. Thank you for adding to this particular proclamation signing. Thank you for your advocacy, for your good work, your work and work of your institution. And now as your governor, it's a real privilege for me to proclaim Autism Acceptance and Inclusion Month in the month of April. And the proclamation reads, whereas autism spectrum disorder is the fastest growing developmental disability in the US and affects more than 3 million people nationwide. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the prevalence is approximately 1 in 54, and whereas the increasing number of individuals with autism require support from all levels of government, federal, state, and local. And whereas persons living with autism spectrum disorder should have access to the lifelong support and services needed to pursue the full measure of personal happiness and achieve their greatest potential. And whereas families, friends, medical professionals, teachers, support providers, and others help individuals with autism pursue their dreams. And whereas ensuring professionals and families have access to adequate support, training, and resources that will enable Delaware to provide the best possible services to individuals with autism and their families and allow for greater inclusion in our communities, whereas Delaware is committed to ensuring that people with autism have access to lifelong care and services needed to pursue full potential and happiness. Now, therefore, we, John Carney, Governor, and Bethany Hall Long, Lieutenant Governor, do hereby declare April 2021 as Autism Acceptance and Inclusion Month in the state of Delaware, and urge all Delaware citizens to recognize the importance of including individuals with autism in all aspects of life. Our Lieutenant Governor has already signed it, and now so have I. And so April is Autism Acceptance and Inclusion Month in the state of Delaware.